Here is Lindholm looking to set at the post. JT Miller scores!
Are you ready?
Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 podcast.
Oh, it never gets old, man. It never gets old.
Big exhale.
Everybody take a breath.
Big exhale.
That was a tough one. I had to miss the first period and 5 minutes playing baseball tonight.
Yeah, that was good of you to go.
I couldn't not. We had our B squad tonight and we dummied them. It was not close, 26-6. Shout out. Where am I at the rate? Shout out to Wearing the Pucks on Net. They've been rocking my shirt. They've been rocking our shirt on their shows the last couple nights. It's only fitting that I rock theirs. This is like breweries. Like everybody supports everybody.
Yeah.
I like it. But I mean, enough about baseball. The Vancouver Canucks. They did a thing tonight. I was very calm when they scored the 3-2 goal. I didn't yell. I didn't cheer. I just
unclenched your butthole.
It was just like I watched it. I'm like, oh man, this is for real. This is happening. JT Miller seals it with 32 seconds left in the game. The Canucks are up 3-2 going into Game 6 in Edmonton on Saturday to possibly go to the Western Conference Final. Ted, I mean, I've been yelling at the ball field all day, so my voice is a little bit rough. But I mean, man, like this is for real, dude.
It's they're for real. I think they've given the Oilers all that they can handle, and they hold the hammer now. I mean, that's what we want, right? I mean, This has been an underdog team for. I mean, prognosticators had them beating Nashville, but I think it was a lot less close than people wanted it to be. People predicting, and I think that there was a lot of smoke talking about this team being out in 4 or 5 games, and that's now not true. And for all those Oilers fans that are out there right now saying that they're not worried, I mean, maybe they're not still worried, but this team is obviously showing that they're capable and they can hang with one of the best teams in the league. So I think they just continue to play that underdog role to a team, man, and it's really exciting stuff. And you're right on that final goal. It wasn't a big scream. It was
I just like honestly,
hands on your face and just like
I just smiled.
We got a chance. We're up 3-2 here. We got a chance to win this whole thing. We can put it away earlier than we thought.
I just smiled. Like I looked and I didn't yell. I didn't scream like I did when Besser scored. I was picking up Addison from our youth group on Tuesday night. So Besser scores. I'm freaking out in the car. She's looking at me like I'm an alien or something. And it's just like I'm going berserk. I'm hitting the steering wheel. And by the time we get the next light, Bouchard scored. And I'm like, this is the worst drive home ever. So I missed the first part of the game, like I said, for ball. And I knew it was going to be, I'm like, you know what? Team needs me. This is what it's going to be. And I'm like, I'm not going to miss the game. I'll miss the first part. And thankfully we're getting updates on the field. But I mean, from what I saw, I mean, the second period and listening to on the radio, like shout out to Batch for calling a great game.
Yeah. He does such a great job, man. I think there's not enough credit for how good those games are when you listen to him on the road like that and on the radio. It's really quality stuff.
I mean, even Bouchard's goal, like I said, on Tuesday, I was listening and like he called it. It wasn't like the Edmonton goal, but it wasn't like a Vancouver, like, oh, Bouchard scored. Like he called it professionally. It was awesome. So anyway, I mean, listening to the beginning of the second period it sounded like a gong show, and I'll watch the highlights after our show here. But I mean, it was incredible. It sounded like the Canucks were absolutely a buzzsaw to start that second period. It sounded like, I mean, PDG getting the goal, dad energy is so real. You and I know it. Like dad energy is like so real. And then PDG coming up and scoring, like, and that's a massive goal. The guy is not, I mean, he's had a decent season, but I mean, playoff goals are worth like 10 goals. and that was, and then Susie coming back off suspension. I mean, it was that kind of game. PD looked, I thought, it sucks he didn't score, but I mean, he throws the semi pick for the goal. And I mean, it just seemed like the Canucks were absolutely rolling. The lineup really got me excited to start the game. Like, what did you think when you saw the lineup roll out this morning?
I was excited. It was time to make some changes. I think you and I had talked a long time about the fact that we really wanted to see that Bluger, Garland, Joshua line got back together, and it was hard to break them up because they were winning games. And although I don't think it was the way they wanted to be in terms of like offensive production between the three lines, that third line had sort of stepped up with Lindholm and really became the second line at that point, right? And bumping Pedersen back and just like not having a lot there, right? I think a player like that, when you're struggling, you're asking a lot of him to now drag a couple players along and sort of support their game and drive the line when he's not quite capable of driving the line of his own, right?
Right.
So to see him come back and place him with Lindholm and Höglander, who he's had, success with this year and has, he's a 20 goal scorer. The guy can pop some goals, right? I think that was really important. I think it's like this level of stubbornness that you can avoid as a coach, right? The last time that they gave that line a good hard look was when Lindholm first got here and his game wasn't right. And we know that, and it's taken a little bit of time and some injury. I think that time off did some good for Lindholm to help sort of heal and repair his game a little bit. And he's been phenomenal for Vancouver, that two-headed monster of like defensive players working in that shutdown role, working in tandem, not alongside, but in tandem with Miller. So now to plug PD into that line and reinsert Höglander back into the lineup. I mean, that line looked pretty dangerous almost all night, and PD specifically looked very dangerous. Doing PD things finally, right? The reverse hit, which was kind of a weird call, but I think we have an explanation for it.
That was so garbage.
The reverse hit, the stop starts, the classic Pedersen zone entries, the little inside out moves before you go back and then shake the defender off. Like, he was feeling it tonight. And I think that we really saw it in this game. And yeah, he didn't score, but he was absolutely pivotal in making that play to have the game tying goal, our game winning goal. So
yeah,
phenomenal. I'm really happy with that lineup. Again, a couple other notes here, right? We're talking about the lineups, and Di Giuseppe gets back in. You just talked about it, right? The baby bump. Got to see Pods come back into the lineup, right? I mean,
he looked good to me too.
Oman looked solid, and I think was solid again in limited minutes. I mean, Vancouver's starting to shorten their bench a little bit, like Edmonton has done the last little bit. The difference being is that Edmonton's kind of been doing it since game one, and Vancouver started just resulting to it now, sort of shortening the bench, and it seems to be working out. And this was far and away the most complete game by Vancouver in this series, and maybe in the playoffs so far.
Okay, so that's a great point. You talk about Edmonton basically. I mean, we don't want to say it, but it has been that way. They've been a one-line team, and they've had to load up on that to get the difference makers. Like, especially again in game 4 is a perfect example. I'm just looking for. I'm not. Is it? I want to say this properly here. What is it? Drederick Tatum. Remember that Simpsons episode?
Can you explain again?
Okay, so basically like the equivalent of Mike Tyson. It was the episode where Homer got into boxing and Mo was his manager. Right. He just gets like dummied every fight, but because he can outlast the other guy, the guy gets tired. Homer gives him one punch and it's a fight, right?
Right.
So anyway, it gets to like the big title bout because he wants to make a ton of money. And Tatum.
So funny that we're going to this huge explanation of what I think.
It's good. It's good. So they've, Homer's just taking punch after punch after punch after punch, and finally Mo's like, or Marge is like, you got to take him out. Like, he's not giving up. He's not getting tired, and Homer looks like he's about to die. So anyway, gets on the fan man member and he pulls him out of the arena. And he's like, "Are you God?" He's like, "Sure, Homer, whatever." So my point is, the Canucks have been playing. And I've been worried that, depending on how the series goes, but the Canucks have been playing like they've been waiting for 40 minutes. They've been waiting for 40 minutes or so to kind of make their move. So they've outlasted. They've played phenomenal defense in the series. I mean, overall, right? Like as a group, there's been some stuff that sucked, obviously, but they've been taking these punches. They've been taking the the offensive onslaught from the Oilers, from the handful of guys, and then they really make their push in the third period. Well, tonight they went down, but then once they were in it, I was like I think everyone and their dog thought it was only a matter of time before this game changed hands for Vancouver, or an unfortunate, terrible goal for Edmonton, like a ricochet or something. Like, it was the kind of game where they didn't need to be, outlast them forever. It seemed like it was a matter of time and they were going to score that goal. So I was kind of worried that they'd become like the Tatum match where, eventually the Oilers are like, they're going to eventually just hand you the dagger, right? It's just going to happen at some point. And tonight was like the opposite of that. Like, they pushed it. The second period, like JT Miller in the post game said, like, that was our most like complete second period. He's like, that was our best second period that we've played. And you could just feel like it went into the intermission. I'm like, man, they need to score because there's too much going their way right now. Like, everything was going their way in the game flow, not necessarily penalties, not necessarily even the power plays, but they really were taking it to Edmonton. And I was thinking, like, and I'm sure you were too, like, they need to score because they can really close it out. Thankfully, it happened with 30 seconds left. Go figure, like game 4. And now the Canucks have the upper hand. They adjusted, though. Every game has been an adjustment. Vancouver wins game 1. Edmonton adjusts based on game 1. Vancouver adjusts based on game 2. Edmonton adjusts based on game 3. And this was Vancouver's turn to adjust from game 4. So, I mean, Edmonton has to adjust because their backs are against the wall now. It's do or die. But do the Canucks actually have enough to like put the dagger in this time? Like, what do they have to give in Edmonton? Because it's going to be hostile out there.
Yeah, it's going to have to change again. I love that explanation. To me, the simple word for that is rope-a-dope.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's Ali, right? That's outlasting your opponent and letting them just feed and feed and feed until you're ready to just turn the tables. And I feel like this was that game, right? Mm-hmm. So not only in the games has it been a rope-a-dope to burn out wins, right? To kind of come back and win it in the last minute.
Yeah.
But in this entire series, it's been a bit of a rope-a-dope, right? They've been sort of leaning against the ropes and just taking punches, defending well, waiting for their chance to counterpunch. And this was that game. Like, and I for the first time in a while, I think you can tell on the shot clock, right? I mean, like this, what was it, 35 or 36 shots? It doesn't really matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point was that for the most part, this was a predominantly dominant Vancouver game, right?
It was.
I think the adjustments thing is like such an important piece to this too, right? I mean, for the first time in a while, and I think Vigneault deserves a lot of credit for doing this too. He was able to make adjustments required within periods or within games to come back and then really will this team all the way to a Stanley Cup final. And Tocchet has this ability now as well, and not now, but really, constantly to make the right call at the right time, to make subtle lineup changes or big lineup changes, and then change things like the way that they're defending. The classic example of that is tonight in the power play, right?
Mm-hmm.
The power play was 0 for 5. This is the most dominant power play in the league, and I think they got like 3 shots on net.
Yeah, the ones I saw from the second on is like one shot last power play. That's a tough power play to shut down. I mean, you and I both know it. It sucked every
Absolutely.
time. But this, did you think in this game though, like compared to other games, we were like, you know what? I'm not worried about it. Like, to me, it felt like they were, the way Vancouver was playing, I'm like, you know what? They're gonna kill it.
No, I didn't feel like that, actually.
Oh, really?
I was quite concerned the whole game because I think that, unfortunately, I think that the refs played such an important role in this game, really a starring role for how the flow of this game went throughout. And I think that in the past, for right or for wrong, Vancouver's been burned in a lot of these games, and so have other teams too. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is just a Vancouver thing, but I can't stand when it becomes a referee show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was very close to becoming that, like late in the first period, and at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is setting up to be a really good third period. We should have a bunch of calls go our way. It didn't end up working out like that, right? Like, it was maybe a couple of non-calls, and I'm fine. I think we've talked about the flow of the game. I think it's really been established in the first 4 games of the series. So it was weird seeing things like, some fairly poor calls. The Cole hooking call with the butt end of his stick was, that's leaning on it. If anything, he pushed him, right? I mean, and then
was that in the first?
And then to come back on the Hyman call seconds later. I mean, to me, neither of those calls should have happened. Yes, they're calls by the letter of the law, but that's not how the whole series has been called. So you've already made and set precedents, right?
The standard wasn't there.
the standard wasn't there. That's not how the series has been called. Why would we expect it to be that way? Every team has to adjust now at that point. So because of that, yeah, it makes me concerned. I did feel like Vancouver was in control for the most part of this game, and there wasn't. I felt like, yeah, we deserve to win this game. We've been playing the right way, but you just never know. Right up until Knobloch in that final challenge, could you imagine if that had to be a call off the skate to decide whether that was going to be a game-winning goal or not?
Yeah,
Good grief!
we were all thinking it. We were all thinking it. And I want to get into the calls again. So like the Pettersson charge, everybody's throwing the rule out there of like how, I mean,
No,
you have to move for a charge and all this stuff. But I mean,
no, it's
he
not.
left his feet, and I'm like, okay, if that's what we're gonna call, but he jumped in the air, like on the spot.
Yeah, so people, we were talking like, what's he supposed to do? Just get absolutely run over? But yeah, you can't defend yourself in a manner that's going to hurt another player, right? And so
Right.
the leaving your feet thing is the letter of the law. So in the charge, it says that you know jumping or rushing or whatever into a player is what's going to get you the call on that. It's not a silly rule. It's a silly name for a silly interpretation. Probably would have been a lot easier on the ref had he called it an interference play. And just like that Cole penalty, same thing. If he would have just called it interference, nobody would have. Well, there would have been complaining, but it wouldn't have been as much of complaining.
Or the Joshua.
To hook a guy with the other end of your stick, right? I mean,
You can't.
By an explanation of the rule, it doesn't sound like something you can do, right? So again, probably would have made it easier on himself if you would have just called it an interference call.
Yeah.
And like, do you remember back in the day when like all the calls really started coming out? We were going back to fast hockey, and refs didn't know what to call anything, so everything was interference, right?
Yeah,
it kind of just could have been like that. It might have been easier on the ref.
And then the Joshua call where they called it, was it interference or tripping or whatever?
That was a trip, and that's just Connor McDavid just going down easy. That's all it was.
Like I think what we've been so used to as Canucks fans, and we're speaking about our team, and I know we've watched enough hockey where there's been some garbage calls, but I mean, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I can't hate it, right? I mean, Joshua did trip him, right? He did get in a way, and was it easy? Yeah, probably. But is it a penalty? Yeah, it's also a penalty. So it's tough to get super mad in those situations. You just got to hope that the way the Canucks penalty kill was working in that moment was going to kill that one off, and it did.
Yeah, it was. And Shelov's looked again. Again, I didn't see the first period in a bit where the goals went in. I'd let you speak on that, but I mean, everything I saw from Shelov tonight, I mean, it didn't look like he was tested a whole lot. He definitely had to stop a few big ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, but early on. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say he looked dialed in for the most part, and then there's the one breakaway. Was it Fogel? And our TV went on to like, "Are you still awake?" So I missed like the whole like sequence of like, "Turn on the freaking TV." And Christine just takes the remote. I'm like, if they would have scored, it's no one's fault, but I would have lost it. Because then I'm like, now Oilers would have been up 3-2, and oh man, it would have been awful. So anyway, get back into the first period there.
Yeah, so the two wins this series have been largely the biggest story in those wins has been Artur Silovs.
Mm-hmm.
And to take nothing away from his game, no credit removed, anything at all. He wasn't the game story this game, and for very good reason, right? He didn't have to be the game story because he didn't have to be the guy that was getting outshot and having to pump out 40 some odd saves, right? I mean, he was very, very good, very, very steadying early on when it could have got ugly, right? They could have went up, 2-0, 3-0 quick on a couple of big blasts and some wide open opportunities that he stymied. So without him early on, this team would have been sunk. But as the game rolled on, he stayed quality. He stayed good. He stayed mechanically sound. He wasn't swimming around. And those were the things that we sort of had, discussed before about him looking like he was in control, and he did, but he didn't have to be super athletic and acrobatic, making saves that he had no business making for us to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a really quality performance team wise, before ultimately the heartbeat of this team and JT Miller puts the game away.
The way he played against Connor McDavid tonight, I was unreal. Like, it's something, we were all excited when we got McCabe. We're like, oh, he's the guy that chased down Connor McDavid, and he has the speed to. He's not even in the lineup tonight. What JT Miller did, I mean, I think we've all had some time to go over from the trade to there's been a lot of discourse, right, on the
Yeah.
JT Miller saga. He hasn't taken any of that personally. He's put himself on his back. He's put the team on his back. And I mean, the deeper this goes, you just feel like it's we talked about this I think before, like the whole Quinn Hughes captaincy thing. There you can have a captain, but you can also have a leader too. And I
You're
mean,
emotional.
he's the guy, like, man, he's such a like he's the straw stirring the drink, and you just see what he brings. And I mean, what I noticed too, even after he scored, he was just so calm. Like it was such an electric moment. I mean, he cheered when he scored, but as soon as the goal was in, it was like he was going through the motions. Like, hey guys, this is what the face-off needs to look like. You know what I mean? Like he dialed everything back in. He understood. He understood the moment, and I think it would have been easy enough to get exactly what it was like in Game 4, where they go ahead. Which, I mean, that's still it's a super unfortunate way that game finished. But I mean, you just look at how it finished, the way what he did tonight as far as all zones, like he looked like a guy that was a game changer. I mean, Pedersen looked great too. But I mean, it's the deeper, like I said, the deeper this goes, JT Miller just seems like a guy like, listen, it's going to be bad and it's going to be good, but I'm going to be there right through everything. And when it's good, I'm going to make sure that I'm at least a part of this.
When times were tough here and Miller was skating around with that bad body language, you remember all that, right? The not a team guy, like not looking like
Then blue line hat.
he wants to be here, right? Like the team feels that and follows suit when a guy like Miller does that, because he is an emotional leader of this team, right? I mean, when people say heartbeat, like he is the guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I think at some point he realized, I think, what control he has over this team and on this team. And I don't think that he takes that lightly now, right? I think he knows that he can affect and impact. And you and I sat in on a speaker one time, and I think that, in our days working for JC, but like, that speaker who spoke for Team Canada at the time brought up a crazy point about being a leader, and it's like, be the thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that so vividly. And that's what Miller is to this team right now. He's the thermostat. So when he's down and he's acting down, the team is down, and he hasn't acted down in a long, long time. And he's been an up guy and a drag this team into the fight guy. And really, I mean, I don't know where they would be without him. The things that he's doing right now to defend versus Connor McDavid, the best player in the world, the best skater in the league, is unprecedented. I'm so thankful that he's here to do what he's doing in sort of that Ryan Kessler role.
Because
shut him down.
I was going to say, to be honest, like nobody's discounting Connor McDavid. It is a lot to contain a Connor McDavid, and he still looked electric. There was the one shot. Was it that they were shooting this way? So it would have been the second period. And McDavid just got open out of nowhere and just lasered one, and thankfully missed. And I'm like, he just gets open so quickly, and he could be a game changer. Like, he's so good. So to keep him in check for a whole game,
yeah.
I mean, there's going to be warts where you're still going to let something past. But I mean, McDavid is no joke. We've said this all season. He's been the quiet guy in the series. Not. He's been the quiet guy in the series as far as the noise goes. Like, it's been Draisaitl, right? Draisaitl's been the guy been bearing, right? But McDavid can just he just changes the game so quickly. I mean, thankfully, when it comes to a national game, I'm very thankful Connor McDavid wears the Maple Leaf. But when it comes to, a club team like the Oilers, it's a lot of work to keep him in check. I can only imagine. They showed that one shift with Miller and McDavid behind the net. Man, you'd be absolutely bushed after a shift playing against him.
Yeah.
Like, it was, I looked and I'm thinking, like, you think of the effort that you put out there when you're on defense and you're trying to do it. You just don't have the energy to be on offense. Like, you need a shift off. So to come back,
playing defense is hard work. Like, it's so taxing.
It's crazy. And again, you're not just playing. I mean, this Oilers team does deserve a lot of credit for the guys that are definitely getting them this far. They're a dangerous team, and they've proven it, and it's not been fun. However, if they can control those guys, that's where this changes in Vancouver's favor. And I still think they've got a very, very good shot on Saturday. But at the same time, like, they have to do this all over again for 60 minutes at least on Saturday. And it's in Edmonton. And I mean, if I'm the Oilers, I still think that I have a very good shot at beating Vancouver and taking it 7 because they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, they cannot take their foot off the throats of this team.
No,
They just can't. They cannot at all afford to take any games off. Like, there's only 2 games left max, right? The opportunity to put this game away next game. If you can do it, I mean, what a boon, right? Like, I think you start looking at those opportunities. Oh, we got 2 chances to put them away. You got a chance, deal with it on this chance.
get it
Don't
done
even
in one.
think about the next game, get it done.
Get it done in one. I mean, it is the hardest trophy to win. And I mean, to think that 4 rounds, like, you just imagine what it's got to be like if you, for the teams that win the Stanley Cup, and I'm not talking about that right now, but to go 4 rounds and to win or even to lose, I mean, that's like, that's an incredible amount of hockey and energy, and like it would take 2 weeks to recover from just being done. I don't care if you win or lose.
And
Like,
I think it does, right? I mean,
and we're only in round 2, and it probably would take that long.
yeah. So heading into game 6 now. I mean, Grant saying, yeah, I feel like they score early in game 6. I think they kind of have to, right? I mean, I think they have to continue putting their foot on the gas, and it's every game this Oilers team comes out like this shot at a camera. It'd be nice to score first.
And I mean, I think that's been almost the whole series where the energy sure changes for whoever scores first. Thankfully, the Canucks have taken a few of those where Edmonton scored first. But I mean, this will be one of those games where you're right. They have to come out and they have to be, I think you probably keep a pretty good version of this lineup going into game 6. If not,
Yeah,
the exact same
I would be
lineup.
surprised if there's any changes made. Yeah, for sure.
And I think, I mean, what is there anything you would tweak going into that game, like based on what we saw tonight? And yes, it was a win, but
Mhm.
like, is there something you would change for the Canucks lineup to think like, okay, clearly Edmonton's going to make a change too, or whether Vancouver does or not, but Edmonton's going to make a change. What do we have to like? Does Edmonton go back to Skinner?
I don't think so.
Neither.
I think Pickard's shown more than enough at this point.
Mhm.
I can't recall any bad goals,
No.
right? I mean, that's the thing that's been killing this squad is bad goals and subpar goaltending.
Hmm.
So, from Vancouver's point of view, I don't see the lineup changing. Oh man, poor Ian Cole. Again, having a rough night, getting called on that butt end hooking call, the knobbing call. I don't know what else to call it.
2 minutes for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, only played 12:31, was by far the low man on the poll in terms of ice time. I think you had the 3 big boys and Quinn Hughes and the 4 Hughes and Hronek and Myers and Zadorov all playing between 19 and 25 minutes. Hughes at 25, Hronek, Myers, and Zadorov all within 30 some odd seconds, 40 seconds of each other. Him only playing 12:13 or 12:31, might suggest that there's a possibility, but he took a penalty and he's one of the key penalty killers. And I don't think that they get to 0-5 on the PK without him. So even when he's having tough games, I think he's still making a lot of the right plays. And I think it would be tough to remove him from the lineup, but that's really only the only spot that I can think of where they might look to make a change, but I can't.
I don't think you can though.
I can't see anybody doing anything here to warrant pulling themselves out of the lineup. And if I got to be really honest too, I was really impressed with Blueger's game getting bumped back up to the 3C, which he spent a lot of time out this year. So I don't think we should be too surprised, but really important that we can have a guy like Blueger playing the 3 spot like that. It's
nice that they've got that depth where you can pull guys out and you're still okay. I want to get in, and I don't want to go too long because I mean, I got to get to bed too. I really want to give a big shout out to the defense tonight. Tyler Myers, excuse me, got something in my throat. Tyler Myers played such a sound game tonight. I thought when there was pressure, there was just a few like clear outs or stick checks, or he just played such a smooth game tonight. It's one of those like he kind of did the reverse, like you stay long enough or you're the villain long enough to become the hero kind of thing. Like it almost went reverse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he went flip heel for sure. Like
Exactly. I
just
thought
like
that was
watching
awesome.
him, like watching him just keep guys wide and then slowly ride them into the boards was just wingspan, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it didn't have to be athletic, and he knew it. Like and it's weird watching him do it because I think like having Susi and having Zadorov, who are similar body types in terms of height and reach, have just like taught this guy more tricks and vice versa, right? Like the three of them have somehow made each other's games better.
Mhm. And then Zadorov, I mean, again, I'm gonna start a GoFundMe. I might start a GoFundMe by the end of the show for Zadorov's next contract. Yeah, the whiny against Kane. He threw another couple big hits tonight. And again, there he had that one outlet pass where I swear I'm like, he's either gonna score off of this on the return, or he's gonna have an outlet pass where it's gonna end up in a goal. Like he still looked dangerous, and he wasn't the most noticeable guy, I thought, on the blue line tonight. And Hronek had a wicked game too. Like I felt like the whole defense tonight, and this is what you got to get excited about because no, the Canucks have not played the best hockey. They haven't been the most flashiest team, but defenses win championships in football, and it definitely wins it in hockey. And the further they go, I mean, this defense is going to have to tighten up a bit more. I mean, it, it's tough to say that this isn't maybe. I mean, again, not the best team, but I mean, they're definitely showing that right now they probably got one of the. They might be the best defensive core, but if not, they're definitely. I mean, probably top 2 in the playoffs right now. Like just the overall defense that they're playing. Because you look at Florida
Like
and you look,
like team unit defense. Yeah, I mean, Florida's got to be up there.
but they're up there more so with like they're on the offensive side. Like they're doing stuff more.
Rangers got to be up there. Like, yeah, they're a high end defensive squad, right? I mean, I think that
Mhm.
you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. Like their ability to play team defense is
But it's
it's
not even like the
it's staggering.
defensive. It's not like the defensive game we saw when they first called Luongo, and they had to rely on like Willie Mitchell and Luongo and like and Olin Sal. They were relying that they were going to win games 2-1 because they didn't have offense. This team does have offense, but their defense is allowing them to cheat a little bit on the offense and take chances along the boards, little chip plays.
It's
they're
it's it's a strange
becoming a
breakout. Like
team.
there's some level of calmness when they're when they're breaking the puck out, and you're not used to seeing guys like Myers and Zadorov and Susi making those plays. And it's funny that you mentioned Mitchell because I've been saying it all year that Carson Susi is 2024 Willie Mitchell, except he's got better hands. He makes smart plays in the offensive zone. He can spend time on the power play. Like I am surprised at how good of a passer he is. And for a guy that we thought was going to struggle in breakouts, he's been, aside from a couple of muff pucks in the first series, and he's been really solid, like very, very dependable.
Well, 2012 Willie Mitchell was pretty good.
He was pretty good, but I mean, he's the new version, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm the funny guy because I hate defense. Like I hate playing defense, and it doesn't excite me. And I think like, why would anybody want to be in that spot? I like being the guy. I like being the showy guy up front. And yet, this defense is just like, man, like I'd really like a Zadorov jersey. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's he's
like
he's
where
he's
are we?
exciting. Yeah, I mean,
Where are we?
so yeah, lots of antics in this game too. 91 versus 91, like the Kane stuff, and
It's good though.
it's there's just lots, man. There's just it's crazy amount of storylines right now, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So let's finish on this. So they go into Game 6, 5 o'clock on Saturday. I mean, it's the long weekend. Everybody's going to be tuning in. Like this is hockey night in Canada, man. This is the game we're all getting up for. I do hope, obviously, the Canucks win. But I mean, this has been a great series. We've been on the fortunate side 3 times, but it's sure sucked the 2 times that they lost. Saturday is going to be a ton of fun. And man, I can't wait. I really can't wait. I think this is This is what we've been waiting for so long. And again, who knows what happens, and it might go 7, but we've waited for these moments, and they just came out of the blue, it feels like. And now they actually have an opportunity to go to the Western Conference Final, something they've only done 3 times ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an absolute grind to get themselves through this game, and I think it's got some San Jose Shark-esque vibes to it. But no, I don't think either team in these 5 games has felt like we got dummied, right? I
Mhm.
mean, I think every single game, both teams have they felt that they had a chance to win those games, and I don't think it's
Absolutely.
going to be any different tomorrow either. Or sorry, Saturday.
There you go. So enjoy your Friday, everybody. Enjoy this tonight. We're going to have to reset our emotions for game 6. Something most of us probably didn't think we'd be saying against an Oiler team that definitely came down the stretch as an absolute juggernaut. But I mean, the Canucks found their legs too. And I mean, it's been a pretty awesome run where it actually feels like there's an opportunity. It has a very different feeling from the Minnesotas and, when we should have beat them, or they should have beat. I mean, there's a lot of teams they should have beat. So this is something special. I think we need to enjoy it. It's sure fun doing it like this. I mean, this is great, man. This is this is a very different Canucks feel, a very different Canucks fan base group, all that.
Okay,
Apparently there's
what
an
was the
accident.
Saklovany tweet?
Okay. Did he
Shit,
double
these
down?
are always good. Yeah, thanks, Grant. That's good. Grant giving us a heads up that Aquilini just dropped a tweet.
I'm just looking here. Oh, here we go. So he reposted. I think this is it. Not hearing much from the critics of the JT Miller trade Jim made these days. Jeez, that guy.
Don't put bad juju on it.
Anyway, this has been fun. I can't wait. Dude, Saturday night.
Why would he say that? Why would you like try to divide your fan base like that? Why would you?
Because he's trying to be cheeky.
Don't be cheeky with your own fans, though. Don't be just like.
Just enjoy the feels like a playoff game tweet.
Yeah,
run with
exactly.
that. We're good. We're good. Anyway, on behalf of Swedish House Mafia, what? I'm just reading this now. I am the playoff towel merchant. This is the PP1 podcast playoff post game show. Canucks are at 3 games to 2. Saturday night's going to be a night for fighting. Peace out.